for a decade in front of the parents who called me a failure. At Thanksgiving dinner with 14 relatives present, I, Liana Blake, brought an unexpected guest who exposed the family's lies, and in that very moment, a daughter's quiet revenge outweighed them all. If you had asked my parents 10 years ago to describe me, they would have used words like unfocused, too emotional, and their favorite, failure. My younger brother, Carter, was the pride of the family. Corporate job in New York City. A sleek apartment in Manhattan. A polished LinkedIn profile filled with promotions and keynote appearances. At every holiday gathering, my father would lift his glass and say, "Carter put our name on the map." Me. I was the daughter who dropped out of college after mental health breakdown no one wanted to acknowledge. I moved back into our house in Austin, Texas, worked part-time jobs and quietly tried to rebuild my confidence. To my parents, that was weakness. Every Thanksgiving it was the same script. "Avery, when are you going to get serious? Look at Carter. That's what focus looks like." It became tradition. But this year I wasn't coming alone. Our house in Austin looked exactly the same. Red brick walls. An American flag hanging by the garage. Pumpkins lined neatly along the porch steps. From the outside, we looked like a successful middle-class American family. Inside, 14 relatives filled the dining room. Cousins home from college, aunts from Houston, neighbors who had known us for years. When I walked in, conversations dipped for a second. "Avery, you made it," my mother said with a careful smile. "How could I miss it?" I replied evenly. Carter gave me a light hug. "Still doing small freelance projects?" he asked casually. "Something like that," I said with a smile. I didn't mention that for the past 3 years I had quietly built a financial compliance consulting firm registered in Dallas. I didn't mention that I specialized in startup audits. Or that I had clients in California and Illinois. Not yet. Dinner began. Turkey was carved. Cranberry sauce passed around. Wine glasses clinked. Halfway through the meal, my father tapped his spoon against his glass. "We're incredibly proud of Carter," he announced. "Next month, his company is finalizing a major merger with a Silicon Valley firm. That's what real success looks like." A few approving murmurs circled the table. Then he glanced at me. "And we hope Avery finds her direction soon." Soft laughter followed. I inhaled slowly. "I actually brought a guest tonight," I said calmly. My mother stiffened. "A guest?" "Yes. He's outside." Before anyone could object, I stood and walked to the door. A moment later I returned, accompanied. Behind me stepped Matthew Reed, a senior investigator with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The room went silent. Carter's color drained instantly. "What is this?" he demanded. Matthew placed a slim folder on the dining table. "We received a report concerning irregularities in Mitchell Crane Tech's merger documentation," he said professionally. My father's hand trembled. "That's impossible." Carter snapped. "Everything is legal." "Internal audits often say that," Matthew replied calmly. "External reviews sometimes reveal otherwise." I remained seated, hands folded in my lap. 2 years earlier, while auditing a startup's financial disclosures, I noticed suspicious transfers. Funds labeled as charitable donations were routed through shell nonprofits and reappeared as executive bonuses. Tracing the filings eventually led me to Mitchell Crane Tech, Carter's company. I didn't accuse him immediately. I investigated. Quietly. Every night my parents assumed I was still figuring things out. I was studying forensic accounting, reviewing SEC guidelines and documenting evidence. When I was certain, I filed a formal report. Tonight was simply the consequence. Matthew opened the folder. "These documents indicate inflated valuation projections prior to the merger," he explained. "If finalized, investors would have faced significant losses." Whispers rippled around the table. Carter stood abruptly. "You went after your own brother?" he asked, disbelief replacing anger. "I stood with the truth," I replied evenly. My mother's voice shook. "You're humiliating us." "No," I said calmly. "I'm preventing a much bigger scandal." Matthew clarified that if immediate corrective disclosures were filed and financial statements amended, criminal prosecution would not proceed. However, Carter would be temporarily removed from his executive position pending review. Carter looked at me, less furious now, more stunned. "You could have warned me," he said quietly. I emailed you, I reminded him. You never responded. Because I was the failure. Silence settled heavily over the table. Dinner unraveled quickly. Some relatives left early. Others avoided eye contact. My father finally spoke, voice low. We never imagined you'd get this far. You never asked what I was doing, I answered simply. Carter rubbed his forehead. I thought it was manageable, he admitted. Everyone adjusts numbers before a merger. Greed always thinks it's manageable, I replied. He didn't argue. Later that night I stepped onto the porch. The cool Texas November air brushed against my face. Inside, the house glowed with soft yellow light, but the atmosphere had shifted. My mother joined me after a few minutes. We never understood you, she said quietly. You never tried to, I responded gently. But after tonight you won't mistake me for weak again. She didn't argue. For the first time in 10 years she didn't dismiss me. My revenge wasn't loud. I didn't burn the house down. I placed the truth on the table. For a decade they defined me by what I lacked. That night, in front of 14 relatives, I redefined myself. Not as the unstable daughter. Not as the dropout. But as the one who saw what others ignored. Quiet daughters don't always shout. Sometimes they audit. Sometimes they prepare. And sometimes they wait for Thanksgiving dinner to calmly reveal that they were never the failure. Just the only one paying attention.